Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. I appreciate the game is a little way away yet, but I wanted to gradually start introducing more of you to the game in the event you started in Monster Hunter World and plan to try it out when it launches later this year. For those of you that have played Generations or maybe even Double Cross before, then by all means share some of your favourite aspects down below, but in this video I wanted to take a moment to talk about these 6 hunting styles, since this is one of the most fundamental changes and it's something you want to understand when going into GU. In short, hunting styles change the way that you use the weapon, and depending on the style that you select, sometimes you'll have a slightly more limited moveset in exchange for more hunter arts, which are essentially your super moves. Some styles will see certain moves present themselves after certain actions, and others will have completely new moves altogether. So if you have a particular weapon that you're fond of, hunting styles give you a completely new way to play them. And while it's true that some of the new moves added in World will not be present in GU since the game came before, there are a ton of new ways to play that you likely won't have experienced. So, with that being said, let's take a quick look at these 6 hunting styles. If you do enjoy this video and you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below and let me know from the ones you've seen or heard about what interests you the most. Now, to begin with, let's start with Guild Style, since this will be most familiar to any of you picking up the game for the first time. Guild Style is, for all intents and purposes, the weapon as you know it now. Again, yes, if you started in World, there will be some missing moves, but fundamentally the weapon will play the way that you're used to. When Monster Hunter Cross and Generations first launched, this was the style that would have been most familiar to anyone coming over from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, the previous game. So if you're taking everything in for the first time, learning new monsters, new systems and the like, and want something familiar, Guild will be the best place to start. In addition to your hunting style, you can also equip hunting arts, and the number of arts you can equip will vary. Some styles allow up to 3, some only 1, but Guild lets you equip 2. Since hunting arts can be both powerful and also defensive or evasive, it's nice having access to a couple on top of a familiar playstyle. I won't go into arts in depth in this video, but that's likely something I'll cover soon in another video. So, moving on from there, let's talk about aerial style. This one's a fun one since it replaces your evade roll with a front flip, essentially. And while it's a little bit slower when used evasively, the primary function of this is to launch you into the air. When you evade flip into a monster, you'll then leap off of them into the air, giving you a window to attack. Now, I mentioned earlier that different styles also alter your moves. And while I won't be showing all weapons in this video, since that would take a very long time to go through, and again it's something I'll likely cover in a little bit more detail later, but in the case of the Greatsword, your charge attack has been removed from the ground. If you want to charge, you have to get airborne. Swinging your sword on the ground has limited functionality, but once you're in the air you can charge, and pretty quickly too. Or for something like the Dual Blades, one of my favourite aerial styles, you can dive into the air, spinning and attacking on the way up, and you can then dart back down like a spinning Beyblade, attacking even more. It's flashy, fun, and for those of you that like a bit more mobility, definitely something worth checking out. However, keep in mind that this style only allows for 1 hunter art to be used, so you'll have to choose wisely. Another option, again only giving you access to 1 hunter art, is ADEPT style. This style is all about dodging incoming attacks and following up with your own attacks. See, with the ADEPT style, if you time your dodge right, so that you dodge through an attack, you will see this fancy animation like this. Following this, you then have access to additional moves. So in the case of the hammer, sure I have my normal moves and charge options from neutral, but if I charge the hammer following an ADEPT dodge, I get access to a special power charge, which also gives me access to a couple of new charge moves too. And while you might think this sounds a little bit tricky, ADEPT is actually incredibly generous. It'll take a little bit of adjusting to begin with, since by now you're conditioned to dodge in time to avoid attacks, but with ADEPT you essentially want to be dodging into them. Doing so will proc the ADEPT evade, and from there you then have access to your other moves. Moving on from there, let's talk Striker. Now, Striker is an interesting one. On the surface, it offers a more simplified moveset, meaning you have less moves to worry about. And for some weapons, the moves you lose aren't too big of a deal, meanwhile others, it makes for a rather odd experience. But the Sword and Shield is a great example. The only thing you lose is the back hop, and unlike World, that doesn't launch you into the air, so it's not a huge loss. You still have your bread and butter combo, which is fast, great for applying elements and abnormal statuses, but the trade-off for losing some basic moves is that you can equip 3 hunter arts, the maximum number possible. Each weapon has a number of weapon-specific hunter arts, as well as some general purpose ones that can be used by any weapon, and since some of them, especially when you unlock the higher levels, are really powerful, this is a great thing to have access to. Pair this up with a deviant weapon, which will charge your arts faster, and you suddenly don't feel like you've lost so much, since you have frequent access to some flashy super moves, as I like to call them. But moving on from there, let's talk about the two new styles that were introduced in Double Cross and by extension, Generations Ultimate. First up, VALOR style. This one is a really fun style, probably one of my new favourites since it allows you to play really aggressively provided you know your target. The main components of this style are the VALOR stance and the VALOR meter. In this style, when you press Y to sheath your weapon, you get this extended animation with this glowing blue effect. You can either let go and you'll sheath your weapon after a second, or you can hold it and maintain this stance. Doing so consumes your stamina and a small portion of your health, but if you're hit in this stance, you'll auto evade, which is really handy. You can be up at a monster's side, fighting, and then quickly tap this to evade. However, there are also a couple of moves that are typically tied behind this too. So some weapons, your default moves will appear limited, and that's because you have to input the attack command whilst in the VALOR stance. It sounds a little clunky, and depending on the weapon you use, it can be to begin with, but the important thing to understand with VALOR is that the first part of the fight is all about the setup. See, any VALOR attacks, i.e. attacks performed off the back of the VALOR stance, will charge your meter, so too will dodging, but the attacks are the biggest gain. Once your meter is maxed out, that is where things get interesting, since most weapons will get access to new or varied moves. In the case of the longsword, I have some interesting spirit combo options, plus my meter glows blue, so I needn't worry about white, yellow and red charge. Instead, I can focus on using spirit combo for damage. Additionally, a couple of hits in the spirit combo also act as counters, so timed correctly, it'll allow you to attack through incoming strikes. Another example, while not shown here, is the sword and shield. That gains a cool backflip that you can perform after any attack. It's sort of like GU's equivalent to the spiral slash in world. So while VALOR style might take a brief moment to set up, once the meter is maxed, you really can have some fun with this. But again, much like Aerial and Adept, only one hunter art with this one. So finally, let's talk Alchemy style. Alchemy is an interesting one. Some may say a little gimmicky, and to a certain degree it is. In Alchemy, you have access to 3 hunter arts, like Striker, and that's nice, but on top of that, you also get an item in your inventory called the Alchemy Barrel. As you hunt, your alchemy meter fills up at the top of the screen, and there are 5 levels. Once you hit at least level 1, you can begin shaking the barrel. In doing so, you're presented with options for items or buffs that you can draw or apply from the barrel. The higher the level, the better the items typically, but in order to get to the higher levels, you also need to shake the barrel some more. You have a little button prompt, Y will shake to the next level, meanwhile X or A will allow you to choose the items. Sometimes when you pick an option, it'll put the item in your pouch that you can then use later, other times the effect is instant. A few examples being, say, level 3, a set of emergency earplugs, a temporary item you can use to negate monster roars. Level 4, you have a bazooka, you can fire an explosion from your barrel and it homes in on the monster. Or level 5, one of the options is to increase the Hunter Art and Prowler support gauges for anyone close by. So sometimes it's team buffs, other times it's personal items. There's a few more options, but again, I'll go over the finer details later, although I did actually do a video on Alchemy back when Double Cross launched on 3DS, so you can find that on the channel if you so wish. But for the time being, the aim of this video was just to give you a brief look into how these new styles can change the way you play, and how they can take a weapon that you already know and give you a completely different approach to combat. Hunting styles and arts are definitely one of my favourite things about Generations Ultimate, so if you're coming over from World, it's definitely something you'll enjoy too. But for the time being, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.